Judge Boyd reveals the harsh truth. Court isn't just about law. It's about broken lives, second chances, and how society keeps failing the people who need help the most.
But no, I appreciate everything that you said. I always firmly believe that you should treat everybody, like human beings. And I think when you do that, it sort of brings the temperature down a little bit in the courtroom because everybody is stressed in court. Sometimes for people, it's their first time being in court. Other, don't be stressed. Yeah. For other people, it's they've been to court before, but maybe they had a bad experience with it. And then, of course, we have Deputy Lord, Deputy Mejia. So I want to keep the temperature right here and not let it simmer. Deputy Lord, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. But I enjoy everything that you all are doing because when you were saying I help the community, but you guys do too. Yeah. And Haven for Hope, you're seeing people who are in distress. Maybe they have mental health issues, but they don't have places to go. And that's very traumatic. And so I would have clients who, didn't have a home to go to. Some of them were put out of their homes, some because there are other issues that were going on with them. But then I had some who there really were no issues going on with them. It's just their home environment wasn't a good environment for them. And I don't think people realize, and I hope society realized that not having a place to stay and then even going to Haven for Hope, even though it's to help somebody, that's still traumatic for that person. Because if you think about it, if I were to take myself and say, okay, Stephanie, you don't have a place to stay and you're going to come to this completely different place, you don't know anybody, and you're going to be surrounded by different people, I would just say, oh my gosh, okay, let me see. It would be stressful because I was out of my home for a year and 6 months because there was a flood. And, I had a place to go, a hotel to go to, but that still, and the people at the hotel were so nice, they were great, but that still was stressful. Yeah. Because you're not around your own things and you can't go and work in a garden because you're in a hotel. Yeah. So I do really appreciate everything that you all do at Haven.
I have a question on it.
Sure. Well, growing up, I was always taught that your job on the planet is to, one, be kind, and two, to help others, however that may be. It's don't make somebody else's life more stressful. That's what I was always taught. Now, I always knew I wanted to be an attorney from early on because my grandmother would babysit me and we would watch Perry Mason together. So before I even started school, I was watching Perry Mason and I was just like, I want to do what Perry and Della are doing. I want to be that attorney who has a secretary who has a secretary and they have their own private investigator. Of course, when I became an attorney, I quickly realized that no, you're your own secretary, you're your own private investigator. But after doing that and seeing everything, it's easy to get burned out because people don't tell you when you're in law school, if you want to practice criminal law, which is my passion, that you're dealing with major issues and everybody comes to you with a lot of problems and you're trying to solve their problems. And criminal law probably is one of the few professions that I know of where if you have a client who has a problem, it's your fault. You never see anyone go to the doctor, and if they have an injury, they don't go to the doctor and say, it's your fault I have this injury. But my time being a defense attorney, people would say, Stephanie Boyd, this is your fault. I don't have my children back. It's your fault. I'm not out of jail. My case hasn't been dismissed. It's your fault. So I did that for well over 20 years. And then I ended up going to the prosecutor's office and I was placed in family violence. And I was the first chair family violence prosecutor. And I really enjoyed that. But then I said, I'm going to run for office. Let me see what I can do because you're constantly, for me, I don't want to stay in one place forever. I'm always like, okay, what can I do that can better help our community? And of course, I pray over everything. And then My mom and I will talk about it, and my family and I will talk about it. And so I said, okay, I'll run for office. And so then I ran for office. And I always said, if ever I were in this position, I would do things differently, because sometimes as a defense attorney or as a prosecutor, put so much work into coming up with an argument for the court. And you say, this is a great argument. My client's going to get probation, or, and then a judge would come back and they would make a decision in 5 minutes. You're like, I spent 2 days on that and I get a decision in 5 minutes. So I always said that I wanted people to really realize that I'm hearing everything that they're saying and internalizing everything. And when people are placed on probation, my thing is everybody wants you to be successful. State wants you to be successful, otherwise they wouldn't have offered it. Defense wants you to be successful. I want you to be successful. And it's getting people to understand that that is very hard, because sometimes I'll have defendants come in and maybe they tested positive for marijuana. And I try to get them in here so that probation can talk to them so we can get them back on the right path. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. And I don't think people realize sometimes in this court, we're dealing with sort of children because they're 18.
Oh, yeah.
I remember one of the cases we had here. I want to say he was about 18, and his mother put him out of the house. And he was doing well on probation, and then he dropped off the radar. So we got him in here, and he came before me and he said, oh yeah, my mom put me out of my house because her boyfriend doesn't like me. I'm like, there has to be more, right? So the mom came in and she said, my boyfriend doesn't like him. And I said, well, is he not following the rules? Is he being disrespectful? No. But thank goodness he had a relative who was in the military who said, I'll take him. He can live with me. And so he successfully completed it. So that's where we
We're
are.
getting so many 18-year-olds, I think, right now.
Oh, wow.
That is one of those, either parents putting them out or sexual orientation or just, difference in beliefs, and their babies come to us, and we have a built program now.
Mhm.
It's off campus and North campus. North campus is for if you're a county resident, you have priority. South campus is, you don't have to be a resident, but it's only for 18 to 24-year-olds. And the programming with space management,
Mhm.
your own apartment, all these measures are there. So they have, that program has been about 2 years now that we've been going strong with that program. So I'm glad we have that. We have that all the time.
Oh, I'm glad for that too.
Yes, ma'am. Because they still don't know what they're doing, and then they've been homeless for a little while, and they get brought in by SAPD,
Mhm.
or just they find their way through the teen challenge, or the young adult other the drop-in shelter that they
Mhm.
have. So we're getting them, but we have resources now. So for those like those.
Yeah, and I always tell people it is so hard when you're being homeless and you're living homeless,
Yes.
because I always think about this, and this is why when I see people come before me, I try to figure out, okay, what is their life? What is going on in their life? And sometimes when I'm downtown, you'll see a homeless person, and then I'll start thinking, okay, where do they stay at night? How are they protected at night? Because I'll see women who are walking, and then if it's cold, I'm like, okay, how they're getting a blanket, where they're getting their food, like what is happening. And I would see them, and of course I would see them. I'm like, hey, this is the place you can go. You should really go there, because right now, San Antonio, it's 100 degrees before it's 8 a.m.
Yes.
and it's 100 degrees with humidity. So it's really, really hot. And I think people are getting heat strokes and all of this. And I'm like, do they have any water? So,
But
yeah.
and also exacerbated by drug use.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
mainly our majority of our clientele is, drug users.
Mhm.
Also unaddressed mental health. So the combination of
Mhm.
both is just it's bad for people.
Oh, it is. I used to do part of my practice. Some of it was CPS cases because judges would appoint me because there were criminal cases involved as well. And I don't think people realize it. that those children who are over there, when they age out of the system, they really don't have a safety net. And so there was this organization I was a board member of. It was called Youth Transitioning into Adulthood. And it was to help children aging out of the foster care, because nobody ever thinks about this. When they graduate from high school, who's cheering them as they walk across the stage? Who's paying for them to have invitations, and who do they send invitations to? Who is buying their class ring? So we would show up to their graduations to try to make it exciting for them. And then people never think children who are in the foster care system, and they age out, they get free college, right? But the key is getting them to want to go. And then you tell them, hey, just take this one course, because then it could last for this amount of time. But when you think about that, what do they do when it's spring break?
Where they go?
Yes, where do they go? And so those are issues that really need to address, that nobody's addressing, because a lot of times I would talk to people in the community, they're like, oh my gosh, free college, that's great. And then I would say, but think about it. Clothes. Where are they going spring break? Where are they going for Christmas break? Because some campuses shut down. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
My problem with spring break was, okay, I'm going to take the bus to get home, and I would get bus fare, take the bus to get home. But other people, they don't have a home to go to, and you don't want them going back to the situation that brought them to be in care of the state. So it's difficult.
CPS workers bring them to Haven.
Mhm.
As soon as they're 18, they're at Haven, and this stuff.
And we would have some children who had CPS cases where they're aged out of the foster care system, and their parents have already ruined their credit. So,
They can't even get nothing.
and it took a lot to undo that. So, yeah, it's a lot of work. But I will tell you, when I see people who are successful and they complete everything, I'm happy about it. Yeah.
As watched a case where a gentleman, the defendant, was working in the ITP program, and we were very excited
Yeah.
that he was doing well. So
Yeah.
It works when you work it.
Oh, it does. It does. So that's awesome. But I'm so glad you all were able to come down.
I know.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
Last question.
Mhm.
So, I mean, what do you do to balance out? Like when we have like heavy workloads, or when you have a lot going on, and especially you being a judge, how do you maintain that balance, separating this from when you go home to be you, or just maintaining balance?
I read a lot. I love to read. Whenever I go home to see Mom, she's like, "Are you reading? You need to rest your eyes." But I love, love, love reading. And I love, love, love working in my yard with my plants. I'm still upset about the Snowmageddon, because it killed my Rose of Sharon, and it killed my gardenias. And all of my neighbors were saying, Stephanie, you're not going to be able to get great gardenias growing here. My gardenias were so beautiful and so high. And I know that I manipulated the soil, because they need a lot of acidic soil. So I just kept turning the soil over and over. And I didn't realize until I came here, there is so much rock. So my neighbors will come over and help me dig. And one time I was on the phone with my mom. I said, "Oh, Mom, there's a root. So Andrew's going to give me an axe, right, to chop the root." And so my mom is screaming on the phone, "Put me on the speakerphone." So I put on the speakerphone, and she tells Andrew, "Do not let Stephanie have that axe." And he was like, "Oh, Miss Boyd, don't even worry about it. I'm going to go get it. But I will not let her touch this axe." But just manipulating the soil. The one thing I can't get to grow here, and I've tried and tried and tried, are hydrangeas. And I love hydrangeas. No matter where I put them for the shade, it's not enough shade. The leaves burn. Then they take so much water. But my neighbors are a little bit. I hope they see my vision. I've decided to get rid of my St. Augustine grass. But my St. Augustine was so beautiful, but I'm getting rid of it. So. It's too much water.
When we tell them, go get an orchid.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get in a relationship, go get an orchid. And
Okay.
if you can keep it alive, then that's when you go get in a relationship.
Let me just tell you, the orchid struggle is real, but we're working on that. So,
Because I think was here looking like, go get an orchid. Back to show.
yes. Yeah, you have to see all the orchids in the back. And then somebody thought one of the orchids was not going to make it. So they ratted me out. And they told somebody, the judge's orchid is on life support. Somebody needs to come get it. But you know what? My orchid is doing beautifully. Yeah, the orchids are doing great. She's like, what? And I tell you what, I grow a mean poinsettia.
Not poinsettia.
Oh, yes. This is what ended up happening. So during Christmas time, everybody always comes to the courthouse and they bring poinsettias. One year they brought poinsettias, and I was reading online, at some point in time, you have to put it in the dark. That's how you get the red plants. So I forgot about it. I had put it underneath my desk. I'm like, okay, I had not watered it for probably like 6 months, right? Because I had forgot about it because it's under the desk.
Yeah.
And so then I look under the desk and there's a red bloom. I'm like, okay. So sometimes you can't do too much. You got to let it breathe, let it be itself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So right now I am growing blueberries. My neighbor took one because I've only got one. And she took a photo of it on a paper towel. It was a beautiful blueberry. And I'm growing a fig tree, even though I don't know if I like figs or not, because I haven't had a fig because it just looks different. But I'm going to try it on something. Somebody told me to put it on something and it tastes very well. So I'm not a fig Newton person.
Fig preserves and cheese.
All right. So I'm going to try that.
These clean as charcuterie boards, like.
All right. So I'm going to do that. But I did that and I have some orange trees planted. So we're going to see what happens. And so that's what's going to
A lot of relaxing.
Oh, yes. You have to, because otherwise.
This for me, my partner, but we want you to open.
Oh my gosh.
Judge, they want to also take some pictures.
Okay, sure. All right.
We really, really appreciate you having us.
Thank you.
You guys are so awesome. I appreciate you all because sometimes people think things just happen, but you all are awesome with what you do. And I really do appreciate that because without you all, I always tell people because sometimes they forget that probation is a part of the legal system.
Yes.
You all are part of this system
Yes.
and you all do so much. She's like, no.
No, I'm not, I don't want to take credit for what they do.
Yeah. But no, so without you all, this would really truly break down and we would have more people on the street. So I really appreciate you guys.
One other thing, like I'm a prior veteran as well. So when I watch your cases when you're dealing with veterans, I love that you see and honor the veteran status, but you still hold them accountable. Like you're not separate from our counterparts, like, and that's a lot of times we get it at Haven. It's the entitlement, and it's like, no, you made a choice, and because it ain't a mistake, it's your choice. And so he's like, I appreciate your service, but this is what the court is going to do.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because we're both to the same state as everyone else.
Yeah.
We volunteered, but still, we mess up, we mess up.
And that's because a lot of the males in my family, they all served in the military. So yeah, my uncle, my brothers, and it's so funny. My brothers always tell me all of these stories, and I will never forget when the first person in my family that was called up to duty that I really knew what was going on. Like my uncle had served before, and the males in our family before him had served before, but that was sort of before my time really. But I knew about it, but I really didn't appreciate everything that was going on. So my older brother, when he served, that was the first time where I really appreciated what was going on. And now I look back on it and I laugh because he got called up and my mom and I are on the phone talking with him. We're watching CNN and all these news stories 24/7. We're like, keep your head down and don't step on a line by, and please don't do this, and watch where you're going.
Yes.
And so it was just stressful every single day. There was so much stress, and
It's been
Yeah.
very stressful. My mom is the same way.
Mhm.
I had 3 brothers and 2 of them served. I served.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just that doesn't go
for
away.
your service. Yeah.
But yeah, so it doesn't go away. Like
Yeah.
I still have one active duty brother,
Mhm.
and my mom still is praying over him every day and every night,
Aw.
regardless if he's in his zone or not. So
Well, mom and I will add him to our prayer list.
thank
My
God.
mom always says there's nothing like a mother's prayer. So,
He's praying. You know, your prayers reach heaven.
yeah, that's what everybody tells my mom. It seems like you have a phone number and you just call.
Right.
So I will let her know. What's his name?
My brother's Kenneth.
Kenneth.
Kenneth one.
All right, I will let her know.
Thank you.
All righty, so let's see what's going on here.